once in a while, Porsche decides it wants to dust the old 911 down and go racing with it, just to prove that the world's most favourite sports car can also win races, you know. So anyhow, in 1994-1995, it took the 993 Turbo, the world's favourite sports car at the time, took away the front drive shafts, added some massive wheel arches, and it created the 993 GT2 to go to racing at Le Mans. And it was pretty successful, but it also created one of the most insane road cars ever. Two-wheel drive, 430 horsepower, about 1,200 kilograms, and more accidents than you could wave a rear-engine Porsche at. But the car that followed it, the 996 GT2, had a much harder time. It didn't have the provenance, you see. It wasn't a racing car, it was just a very fast road car, effectively a turbo with a bit more power, minus the front drive shafts again. And it rightly earned the nickname the Widowmaker, because it was spastically difficult to drive in the wet. Porsche, you see, was worried about the amount of oversteer, so it made the car understeer a lot. But that meant that when the understeer ran away, you got heroic oversteer, snap oversteer. And there are probably more 996 size holes in hedges in the UK than there are any other type. So this is the new 997 GT2, and with the help of my handy press kit, I can tell you that it has 530 horsepower, a frankly amazing 501 foot-pounds of torque from 2200 RPM to 4500 RPM, that it weighs, wait for it, 1,440 kilograms, a bit porky. And this is the really potty bit. Here are the claimed performance figures. 0 to 62.5 miles an hour, 3.7 seconds. 0 to 100 miles an hour, 7.4 seconds. 0 to 125 miles an hour, 11.2 seconds. 0 to 186 miles an hour, guess, 33 seconds. This is a very, very fast car, potentially. Blimey, that is the last thing one needs when one is driving the 997 GT2, rain. Luckily, unlike the last GT2, this car does have traction and stability control, but don't worry, it hasn't gone soft. Let's explain why this car is rather better than its predecessor. The 996 GT2 was a car that left the factory rather compromised. They were so worried about its propensity to fire you off into the undergrowth that they dialed in a load of understeer into the chassis. So the likes of us, when we drove the cars, thought, blimey, what's going on here? We can't get the front to turn in. This is a bit of a mess. Owners of 996 GT2s will know full well, though, that if you do a bit of chassis alteration, so much about these cars is adjustable. You can actually find a really nice chassis from it. This is much better first time round though. It steers, let's say, halfway between a Carrera and the GT3. It's not quite so active in your hands as a GT3, but it's pretty incisive stuff. Certainly miles better than the last GT2. The tyre certainly helps as well, because it can just turn in that much crisper. But as ever, this is a very different driving experience to a GT3. They may share the same first two letters to their name, but they really are completely different cars. In the GT2, you get the thing in a straight line and you wind the power on and you ride it out. It's a bit like a superbike in that respect. You just got to get it straight, then go. Get the gas on too early in a turn and it just wants to slide everywhere. All the traction control kicks in. Of course, you can turn the traction control off, but it's 3 stages this time. You can either have stability and traction on, take the stability away and just have the traction, so you can still do some more lateral skidding, or you take the whole lot off and risk throwing it off. It is quite lively as well. When you get that initial message that it's gone, throw all the lock at it, otherwise it turns ends. Yes, we're in the middle of nowhere with the new GT2. Now, we've only got the car for 5 hours, so I'm going to talk you through with my press kit because I can't remember all the bits and bobs. 530 horsepower, like we said. Come at the front. Standard. 380mm ceramic brakes, same as GT3. In other words, they have this light aluminium carrier here, so they're lighter than the ceramics you get on the turbo and on a normal Carrera, should you order them for £5 grand extra. Inside, at last. A carbon bucket seat with a fixed backrest. Pull a toggle, it goes forward and you can get in the back. Well, you can't because it's homologated as a two-seater, so you can't sit in the back, but you can put your gubbins in the back. I'm reliably informed this is a new design of roll cage as well. So, very nice. Speedometer reads to max 7, 350 kilometers per hour, that's 200 miles an hour in old money. Red line 6750, and it has a shift light like a GT3. The instrument cluster is just like a GT3. Around the back here. Big wing. GT2 always has big wing. This time, just as big as the last one. In fact, even more impressive because it has these snorkely air intakes down the side that make it look like a racing car. Tyres. Look at these. 325/30 ZR19s, and they're Pilot Sport Cups, so they are effectively a cut slick or a soft compound road tyre that in standing water still behaves pretty well, but you wouldn't want to be stuck in them when they've got a little tread left. Here we're standard 997 turbo, same air intake, but round the front, as per the 996 GT2, quite different. Low splitter to disturb the air as little as possible, slightly squared off jawline, large air intakes, and this here, as per the last GT2, a large air outlet to take airflow from underneath the car, straight out over the bonnet, over the roof and over the rear wing. Okay, summarise the looks of the 997 GT2. Yes, it's a badass MF. Perhaps the main problem with the 997 GT2 is the roads on which you should be able to explore its performance simply don't exist anymore. They might exist in Central Africa, but they certainly don't in Europe, and for that reason I'd want to take it to a circuit really to see what it could do. And that means I can't really give you the definitive verdict on the car. I can tell you, yes, it's miles more solid than a 996, yes, it's incredibly fast, yes, its cabin is a little bit disappointing given how similar it is to a regular Carrera, and yet it costs £125,000, but otherwise, it's a storming car. I just want to wait until we drive it on the circuit for the final, ultimate verdict.